Hey, welcome to the 411 on 420. I'm Daryl Bowman, your host, here with Harry Brailsford.
Right.
And today we are interviewing Rick Garza, who is the Executive Director for the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. Is that correct?
That's right.
Alrighty then. Thanks for joining us today and having us in your office. We're really excited to have an opportunity to talk about, well, the state of cannabis and the business of cannabis in ways that people aren't really discussing it on a routine basis.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Our goal is to educate and to inform people so they can make well-qualified decisions on cannabis and what it means to the consumer, but also to the average citizen, because you know it's coming and it's here and now it's growing across the nation from a medical perspective and from a recreational perspective. And we've got a lot of questions. There are people who are still going, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Is it good? Is it bad? Lots of unanswered questions, and it's going to continue to evolve for quite a while. So, right from the beginning, I mean, we started, we started in what, 2014? Or?
Well, it's going to be 4 years of retail sales at the end of next month.
Okay.
So really 4 full years. And
what kind of growth have we had since the beginning? The first year and second year, third year, and then overall?
So about 160 million in sales the first year.
Okay.
A little over 380 million in sales the second year, and then 800 million in sales the third year, and about 1.3 billion.
A little exponential.
So you can see that it's grown substantially, and part of that is it took us some time to get all of the producers and processors licensed. And then all of the retailers up and running. And then remember, a couple of years ago, we merged medical marijuana with adult use marijuana.
Oh, and then we had an exponential growth.
And then we had substantial growth occur.
Yeah.
But I think this next fiscal year will be pretty close to last fiscal year, which means that we finally kind of set the market in place.
Okay.
We're not going to increase the number of producer processors anytime soon. I suspect we're not going to increase the number of retailers. We've licensed over 500 retailers statewide. So I think we're going to see a leveling off of the growth that's occurred just simply because the system is now completed as far as licensing.
Sounds like we had like a Moore's Law for cannabis here for a while there. I mean, doubling and doubling.
Yeah, you sure did.
And now we, just like the technology industry where Harry and I both come from actually, we're getting a leveling off, and so Moore's Law doesn't really apply anymore.
Sure.
What does that do for the excise tax revenue? So you've laid out the revenue growth.
Sure.
So let's convert that to your world.
Yeah. So almost about $1 billion in excise taxes have been collected in those 4 years. Half of that money goes to the state health care authority to provide Medicaid. It's basically health care for the working poor and low income.
I just read that we were stuck with regards to that income because it only could be used for certain things, and it wasn't actually benefiting as well as the state as well as people might have thought it would. Is that true?
Well, initially the initiative distributed the funds in a certain way. Percentages going to the healthcare authority, percentages going to DSHS, for example. But what happened in the budget crunch that we had is that only 18% was supposed to go to what's called the state general fund, where it can be used for anything in state government. It was earmarked specifically for health care, for benefiting DSHS with respect to prevention, drug prevention assistance there. And then UW, WSU, little pockets for research.
Interesting. Yeah.
It kind of uses the model that was used for alcohol when we came out of Prohibition in 1934. But what happened was the state, as you know, because of McCleary, had budget issues, so they're taking a much bigger chunk. They're taking about 30% of the revenues now.
30%.
So there
Is that
was
still going to the education then?
it can go to public safety, it can go to police, it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
But to your point, Harry, I think some of the agencies were upset because they were supposed to have received larger allotments, and then the state took some of that money. So, but $1 billion, almost $1 billion excise taxes are being collected. There's a 7 to 10% retail sales tax that's also being collected. 7% of the state gets as far as retail sales, and then locals get a chunk of that
and
also.
Is that just the traditional sales tax?
It is.
That I would
It's the
spend
tradition.
on
It's
candy.
exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well, not just the let's clarify just a little bit, because when we first started out, there was a huge misnomer about the taxes and how they were created, and everybody said the Liquor Cannabis Board is charging way too much. Well, that
Yeah.
came in the initial initiative.
It came in the initiative.
And so those were by law.
They
There's a
were.
couple different taxes.
Well, actually, in the initiative, it was 25% at production, 25% at the processor level, and 25% at the retail level.
And you could do nothing about that, though.
That was really placed in the initiative. The idea was to collect a large. So think about this. It's pretty consistent with what we do with alcohol and cigarettes. So the sin taxes in this state tend to be high. We have one of the highest spirit taxes in the excise taxes in the country. Cigarette taxes are high. Remember that in this state, what don't we have? We don't have an income tax in this state. So the state has traditionally used, and now cannabis, but it is one of the highest excise taxes in the country that I'm aware of,
Now
as far as
we've
cannabis.
taken that down, though,
So I
quite
think
a step, haven't we?
Yeah.
Though, I mean,
Well, you changed it so it became a 37% excise tax on the retail sale of cannabis rather than hitting the producer and processor with it. At the end of the day, it's still being paid by those, right? The consumer pays for those taxes.
right,
So-
but they're not looking at it from a 25,
Right,
and
that's
20
correct.
perspective anymore, and one on top of the other,
Right,
and a
it's true.
multiplier. They're getting a straight
That's true.
37%.
It's true.
And now your prices are coming down specifically, so they're closer to what the black/gray market was, if you will, so that we're closing out that market. Is that
Correct.
what the ideal is?
Maybe a final question for this segment, since we're kind of talking about taxes. So we have, let me see if I got this straight. Got the 37% excise tax, and then depending on the municipality, it could be a
Correct.
7 to 10%
Correct.
sales tax.
Right.
Am I missing any other?
Well, there's a
tax?
B&O tax. It's
Okay.
very small. I think it's 0.01%, but that's a business and occupation tax
Yeah.
that the businesses have to pay.
That's a statewide, but every city can
Yeah.
do the same thing as well.
Okay.
They could, yeah. I don't know what other local taxes or county or city taxes the businesses would pay, but at least you're looking at about a 45 to 47% tax
Yeah.
on the item just alone.
That's the simple math. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for answering these
You
tax
bet.
questions.